If you can hear me, do not key up yet. Give me 30 seconds of quiet so I know this is getting out. This is Miles Carter, speaking from a hard room under Offutt Air Force Base in Nebraska. It's 4:13 local, Friday. Wind is steady out of the north. The floor hum is the backup air system, and the rack to my left is warm enough to keep my hands from shaking. I'm riding the low band tonight because the sky is crowded with noise and the higher bands are a mess. Primary on 5.505 megahertz USB. Secondary on 3.330, and the old man's net is still trying to live on 40 meters at 7.238 when the skip allows. If 5.505 drops, try me again on 3.330 at the top of the hour. If you're on a hand crank set, you'll need patience. I'll stay on for as long as the diesel holds. I'm going to talk fast and plain, because the people who need this don't have time to dig through nice words. Day 13. If you're counting from the first city that went dark on the live feeds, it's been 12 days and some hours. If you're counting from the silent climb of the warning birds on the East Coast and that gap in the air picture out of Thule, then it's a full 13. The first hint wasn't the light in the sky. It wasn't even the flash that turned the far horizon into noon at midnight. It was when the clock on WWF, the atomic time on 10 megahertz, stuttered for 2 beats, then kept going like nothing had happened. Then the EAM string length doubled, and the chatter on the broken squawk of that old Russian buzzer tripped into something I'd never heard before. People who live inside consoles call it out-of-family traffic. To me, it sounded like a cough you know is going to turn into blood. Before the flashes, there were the small tests. GPS went soft around Kansas City and Tulsa. Phones started ghosting callers. Not a network crash yet, but like a hand over the mouth of the switch. At 2:19 on day 0, a pilot on the Dallas-Fort Worth departure corridor keyed into guard and said he'd lost his star map. That was the line he used. Star map. He meant the sky wasn't where it was supposed to be, because his INS and GPS were swearing at each other. Then the weather radars began to paint shapes that weren't weather. Guys at the base laughed about it. We all laugh before the fall. When it came in layers. First, an EMP slap took the soft stuff. If you saw traffic lights blink once and die in a grid, that was it. If your car kept running, thank the old relay gods or a shield you never thought you had. If it didn't, push it out of the lane and walk. Then the big light far away that makes every dog stop barking at the same time. Phones screamed with alerts, the same sound over and over, then no sound at all. First cities gone off the map. Reports said Norfolk. Others said New York had a low airburst, then something inland. Chicago's feeds froze. Los Angeles lost the west grid, then came back, then was smoke on the edge of every lens. People ask me what's true. I tell them what I can confirm. Omaha saw sky glare to the east on day 1. We felt the pressure doors settle like a body finally laying down. I'm speaking from a room that was made for bad days. The table is scratched with old unit numbers. There's a white card taped above the transmitter with the quick start for this rig, in case a kid who's never turned a knob has to do it while his hands shake. The card says, antenna, power, VFO, mode, breathe. I added the last one with a marker 2 nights ago, after a new tech came in with eyes like a deer and forgot his own middle name. He sat beside me and learned how to hold the mic just off the mouth to keep the pop out. He left an hour later to haul cans for the general. People come and go, and I keep talking because that's my job now. What happened after the first day? Power dropped in rings. The grid is not one thing. It's a wide quilt of pride and duct tape. and when you pull one stitch, the whole blanket tries to come apart. West of the Mississippi, you still have pockets. Farm towns with their own co-ops kept the lights longer. East Coast is a grave for switches. Down south, there are counties that never had much, and so they lost less. The big stations, those towers you see off the freeway with guy wires like harp strings, some still push AM if they've got diesel and a man or woman who refuses to go home. But a lot of stations switched to the feed the moment the alert hit, and then no one switched them back because there is no feed to switch to. Government voices, you've heard them. The tape loops. Stay inside, boil water, await instructions. Good rules, but the boil part hit some people like a joke when the stove top clicked and never caught spark. Real men and women in uniform are out there. I know that, because sometimes they come through my door and take a cup of black coffee and curse quietly and go out again to hold a road or clear a field. But the loud voices on TV are gone, and that kind of quiet is loud in its own way. Insider theories, you ask for those. I can only pass on what I hear and what I can put together. A man whose badge got him 3 doors deeper than mine said the first exchange started with a test shot from sea, not land. He said subs made the first cut. Another told me that some of the flashes we saw were not warheads, but sky killers. Anti-satellite bursts meant to blind everyone before the real punches. A woman with a patch that says she works with numbers and space said the early warnings were confused by fake birds mixed with real ones. A simple trick that made bright and dark look the same on a certain screen. She said, when you flood a watchman with false alarms, the true one looks like another trick. That one sat with me. It sits with all of us down here. I said not to key up yet, but now I need you. If you are in range and you have a story that helps someone else live through the day, I'll take you. Keep it short, keep it true. Use your first name and your city. If you're scared, that's okay. We all are. If you lie, I'll cut you and move on. We don't have time for big talk. Before I open the line, I want to give some hard tips. Water first. If you're in a house with a tank on the toilet, that water is clean. Use it. If you're in an apartment, fill the tub now if you have any pressure at all. If you can't boil, bleach can save you. 2 drops per liter, shake, wait 30 minutes. If you can't count drops, use the cap from a small bottle. A good guess is better than no try. Food next. Eat what will go bad first. Don't stand with the fridge open thinking about your life. Open, grab, shut. Heat. If you have a fireplace and wood, fine. If not, bundle and share body heat. Pride kills. Ask for help. If the wind carries dust, cover your mouth with a damp cloth. It's not magic, but it's something. If you built a shelter in the good days and never showed your wife or husband how to open it, shame on you. Fix that now. If you've got a Geiger counter, you already know your numbers. If you don't, stay inside when the rain looks wrong and your skin feels like it's been in the sun 15 minutes after dark. I'm opening the line for 3 minutes. Break in with your call. If I speak over you, it's the skip or the generator coughing. Go. Hearing a weak carrier. Hold it. Push from the belly, not the throat. Name's Travis in Council Bluffs, a man says, and I can hear wind or maybe a broken car window near his mic. Bridge over the river is jammed both ways. People left cars and walked. National Guard set a line by the ramp and told folks to turn back to the west side. Shots? Don't know. Heard popping, but could have been tires. Water truck got through at noon. They handed out cases. They said more tomorrow, but no one believes them. I ask him about power. Dead since day 1, he says. We got a farm co-op truck running a line of outlets in the church lot off Broadway. You bring your own charger and stand in the cold. They cut you at 20 minutes so the next in line gets a turn. Preacher's wife is keeping the names. People didn't like it at first, but names make it fair. Travis, if you're still there, you did right to call. If you're in that line later today, tell them the man under the base says it's a smart way to share. I hear a second voice, female, stronger. This is Anne in Lincoln, near O Street East End, she says. I work nights at the hospital. We lost a wing when the backup failed. We've got a small gen now just for the ICU. People are showing up with burns from strange sun. Their skin is red in a map shape like where the shirt was thin. We don't have enough cream. We need dressings, clean cloth, anything that doesn't shed. If you're listening and you have a sewing kit, finish those cloth masks you started in the last pandemic and bring them dry to the south entrance at noon. The guard there is a big man named Ruiz. Tell him Anne sent you. Anne, I'm writing this down. If you're in Lincoln and safe to move at noon, you heard her. Dry, clean cloth. Don't show up with what you can't afford to give away. If you have extra, give. If you don't, stay home and keep your heat in. Third call. Very faint. The voice says, Des Moines. Name is Jax. And then I lose him. I tell Jax to try the secondary at the top of the hour if he can. I repeat the time. People want to know where we stand. I can't tell you who hit us first. The console above me doesn't show those colors. I can tell you we have lost too much to pretend this is small. I can tell you there are people still making choices to protect the rest. I can tell you the quiet on some nights is not peace. It is the breath you take before you push again. We're under martial law in some places. I know the words sound like a hammer, but the men and women at the roadblocks are flesh and fear, same as you. If they tell you to turn around, turn around. If you think you can run a line because you have a truck and a dream, think twice. Roads are not safe in full dark. Make light a friend and a risk, not a torch that tells every hungry eye where you live. I'm going to share a thing that sits heavy. On day 2, a man here with a silver beard and hands that shake when he's still but not when he's working. He took me aside and said he'd spent his life in rooms like this, listening to messages no one else hears. He said he once wrote papers about how a war like this would begin with a window of blindness, not malice in the first hour, but confusion. The man said, "We built systems that work great when nothing goes wrong. We forgot to build hearts that can call a thing what it is when everything goes wrong at once." He said, "The worst day in a system is the day you trust the process more than your eyes." And then he went back to checking a cable for heat. If you're a ham and your set still lives, here's what I've found. Airtime seems cleanest between 3:45 and 5:30 here in the middle. Less sky noise, fewer idiots trying to play music on 50 watts. If you have a tuner and a wire, get it up in a V if you can. If you can't, run it flat along a fence. If you're near metal, be smart, but don't get cute. The voice that works is the one that's on the air, not the one waiting to be perfect. If you're on AM, the big stations that are alive turn into beacons at night. KMOX cut in 2 nights ago with a voice that sounded like it came through a pillow, but it was there, and it said simply, "We are here." It's a stupid small sentence that felt like an arm around the shoulders. Try AM if you can't find me. People have asked me for hope. I won't sell you a new sunrise if I can't see the edge of it. But I will tell you what hope looks like to me this morning. It looks like a kid in a flight line jacket pushing a cart of diesel down a hall because he heard the clock on the generator hiccup. It looks like a farmer who drove 4 miles in low gear to drop off a sack of potatoes at the church kitchen, with his name never written down. It looks like a nurse's voice on this net asking for cloth and not once saying please because she knows the word is a waste when the need is real. It looks like the old man who wrote breathe on the quick start card and then remembered to breathe himself. Now the hard part. Panic makes you loud and dumb. Do not go to the city center because you think food trucks will magically line up. They won't, not yet. Do not try to drive long distance unless you have a reason that's bigger than your fear and a route that keeps you off main arteries. Do not take a gun to someone else's door to ask for food. If you have to defend your home, do it with a steady hand and the smallest number of words. Your voice, not the size of the tool in your hand, will set the tone. Speak like you want to be the kind of neighbor who still exists next month. Weather. I said wind from the north. It's colder than the calendar says it should be. Dust is moving at ground level, and leaves are dragging along the curb in the base housing like tired feet. We watch the plume charts when we can get them, but the maps are days behind and the models feel like fortune-telling. If your local sky has a dull shine where it shouldn't, stay under a roof. If you have a basement, use it. If you don't, put a heavy table between you and the windowside. Simple layers of mass are your friend. Dirt is good. Books are good. Water jugs stacked waist-high make decent walls. The world taught you how to be soft for a long time. Now it's asking you to be simple and hard. Answer it. I caught a whisper on 20 meters just before I came on. A ship off the Gulf said the sea lanes were weird with dark hulls and no lights, moving slow like old whales. He said he couldn't tell flag from shape. He said the Coast Guard used his name and told him to hug the shallows if he wanted to see the next town. There are still people on the edges sending word. If you are near water, treat it like a road with no rules right now. Another insider note, and then I'll open the calls again. There is a rumor that one of the mountain sites took a glancing blow. Not a direct hit. A hand across the face. Not a fist. The people there fell back deeper. They are still in the fight. If you're the kind of person who needed to hear that someone out there still knows how to do math and press a button at the right time, you've heard it now. We are not blind in every room. I'm going to change something about how we take calls because the last half hour the skip has been rolling weird. If you are within 50 miles of Omaha and you have a working FRS or GMRS handheld, put it on channel 3, privacy code off, and listen at the half hour. A runner from the base will try to pick up short-range calls and bring them down here. It's clumsy, but clumsy beats silent. If you're a ham, hold the net for your county. Let the kids with the bubble packs hand you their traffic and then pass it on up to me in one voice. Speak slow. Give me the facts. If you start to tell me about politics, I will cut you. We can argue about the flag when the babies are warm and the old folks have clean water. I'm ready for another round. A call comes quick, strong, and clean. Name is Richie in Papillion, he says. Small grocery on 72nd is letting 10 in at a time. Cash only, but they'll take small bills for neighbors if you put your name on the wall and say what it's for. A man tried to take a lady's bag in the lot, and 3 kids from the neighborhood stopped him without hitting him. They stood in front of his car and told him to sit down and breathe. He did. Richie. That's what I mean when I say who we are in the dark. Another voice. Older, careful. This is Mr. Patel in Bellevue. We have a pharmacy, or we had. We cannot fill scripts, but we can count pills left and explain spacing. If you have high blood pressure meds, Do not double them because you think fear is a disease you can swallow away. Take what you have, split the dose on the advice of a real nurse or doctor if you can find one, and do not stop without a plan. We will stand at the door at 11 and talk to whoever comes. Bring your own pen and paper so you remember what we say. Mr. Patel, bless you and the ink on your fingers. A third voice, teen or maybe early 20s. I'm Eli, north of Plattsmouth, he says. We set up a water station with a sand and charcoal filter we found on the internet months ago as a hobby. It works. We can fill jugs between 1 and 3. I'll put a blue tarp on the tree by the road. No fights. Bring a joke if you have one. My mom says we need jokes like vitamin C. Eli, I owe your mom a laugh. I'll try to find one before we're done here. Now the part I didn't want to share, but I have to because you deserve straight talk. Last night, a convoy headed north past the base, not ours. Old trucks, no lights, tarps over whatever they had in the bed. They were going slow, like they were afraid of their own noise. 2 miles later, they hit a neighborhood that had set up a chain across the street with a sign that said, "Stop. We share, then you pass." No guns on the chain, just a word and some hope. The trucks didn't stop. A man stepped out from behind a car and put his hand up. They didn't hit him, but they rolled through and the hand came down slow and empty. After they passed, someone in the back threw a bag out into the grass. It was full of canned peaches dented to hell. That's a picture I have in my head now. People with their hearts in their hands, and someone tossing them fruit like they were birds. Don't be that someone. If you have to keep moving, keep moving. But don't throw pity like garbage. Stop if you can. Look someone in the eye and tell them what you can give and what you can't. We are not beasts unless we choose it. I'm close to the bottom of this hour. I need to service the set and check the fuel line while the captain who runs this floor pretends she doesn't worry about me. Before I go quiet for 10 minutes, I want to leave you with simple orders. Drink water. Eat enough to think straight. Keep your radio dry. Share the work. Write down what you do because the mind lies when it's tired. Watch the sky, but don't try to read it like a prophet. Call your mother if you can. If you can't, talk to her in your head and then do the right thing anyway. At 4:30, I'll be back on this frequency. If I fade, try 3.330. If you have news that saves a life, hold it for me. If you have tears, you can spill them now or later. They taste the same, and they sting your eyes either way. I'll be right here in this concrete womb with warm racks and cold coffee and a card that says breathe. I will keep saying the things that need saying until the fuel runs dry. Or I do. This is Miles Carter, Offutt Air Force Base. Low band net, day 13. Hold your people close. Guard your light. I'll be back at the half hour. 4:30 on the mark. Generator held. I'm still here. If you lost me for a minute, that was the carrier wobble when someone upstairs kicked the fuel drum to see how much we've got. The answer is not enough, but more than none. Primary remains 5.505 USB. Secondary 3.330. County hams, hold your nets and feed me clean traffic at 5 past and 20 past. If you hear me whisper, it's the skip turning the room sideways. If you can't hear, shift your chair, not your hope. I ran the board checks and looked at the big map the intel team pins to foam with bits of string. It's not official, but it's honest. Red pins for dead repeaters, blue for stations still whispering, green for wells and kitchens that anyone can use if they can get there. There are more green pins this morning than yesterday. That's not a miracle. That's people who chose to be the last good thing someone sees today. Write that line on your own wall if you need help doing the next hard task. Short news from the hall. The flight line on the surface is quiet under frost and a thin scud. A crew hauled 2 pallets of MRES toward the family housing because families are still families even when the paychecks stop, and the TV is a sheet of dust. The base clinic swapped a diesel heater from the motor pool for a case of sterile gloves. That trade sounds small until you watch hands turn raw in cold rooms day after day. A chaplain with a runner's gait took a list from me with names of people asking for someone to visit. He nodded once and left. He knows there is no script for this week. I promised science where it helps and not where it blinds. Here's the simplest cut. Some clouds are carrying ash and odd grit. Not all rain is dirty, but some is. If your porch gets a thin coat that feels like flour with tiny stones, don't sweep it hard. Wet it, push it gently, and keep it outside. Don't let kids write their names in it with bare fingers. Don't stand in it thinking about poems. Wash it off your boots before you come in. Your lungs are not built to be filters. If you have to work outdoors, wrap a cloth over your mouth and nose. If you have a proper mask, use it. But be kind to yourself if you don't. You are not failing if you do the best simple thing that you can do today. I'm opening for county traffic. Douglas? Sarpy? Lincoln County? Give me your clear shots. A steady voice comes through, seasoned and calm. This is net control for Douglas County. 2 items. 1, the warming room at 60th, and Maple moved to the church basement across the street because the first building's pipes went. Same hours, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. They'll heat soup and charge radios, 20 minutes per person. 2, a rumor's running that a convoy of aid will roll into downtown at noon. We have no proof. We advise people to stay in their neighborhoods and not leave safe shelter for a rumor. Copy that. Rumors can feel like food when your stomach is empty. Don't eat them. Sarpy comes next. The signal is grainier. Sarpy County here. Boil order still stands for anyone pulling from the river or shallow wells near it. The mobile water unit will be at the South Library lot from 1 to 3 with a gravity filter. Bring containers. No pushing. The guard posted 2 sergeants there after a scuffle yesterday. It ended without shots because someone had a whistle. We're asking more people to carry whistles. It's a signal that says stop without starting a war. A whistle is light and loud. Good tool. If you make one from a can lid and a hole, I won't judge you. Lincoln County chases the skip, but manages a clean minute. ICU says thank you for the cloth, but they need tape, any kind, and big safety pins. Pharmacy volunteers will answer short med questions at noon under the east awning. They will not write scripts. They will hand you a paper that tells you when to take what you already have without hurting yourself. Keep kids away from open flame. We saw 2 hand burns from candles falling off plates. Back to open air. I promised more about the early days. People keep asking how we missed it. We didn't. Some in high places saw it plain. The problem was speed and noise. One insider from a room with a soft floor told me that within 5 minutes of the first odd flight track, they were getting ghost tracks from a spray of junk in low orbit. When a thrown handful of screws whips through the sky at 8 kilometers per second, a radar can't tell you if it's trash or a fight for a blink. That blink was enough for other hands to do the next thing on the list. People want a single villain, because a single face is easier to hate than the math of 50 small failures. The story is bigger than a flag. It always is. An old field hand from Stratcom stopped by my chair an hour ago and gave me a 1-sentence lecture. Never confuse the map with the ground. Write that above your front door. If a paper says the plume is 10 miles away, but your eyes sting and the birds are gone from your trees, believe your face. If a man in a vest tells you Main Street is safe, but you hear glass falling like rain, take the alley. If your gut says, don't go tonight, don't go. We need you alive more than we need you brave. Let's take a run of calls beyond the county. If you're more than 50 miles out, speak on the up-breath and hold your syllables like you're balancing a cup. A woman breaks in strong from the west. Name is Lila in North Platte, she says. We built a cook line outside the school at B and Dewey. We're doing stew at noon from the big pot because it's safe and it uses what's going soft. Bring a bowl if you have one. We ran out yesterday. We put the kids on wood detail. They come back with pallets and laugh. They sound like a normal day for a second. If you live alone, sit at the far end of the bench and listen to someone else's story while you eat. It helps. Lila, thank you. If you're in that radius and have 2 spoons, leave one there. Next, a man with road grit in his tone. I'm Ken near Kearney, mile or 2 south of the interstate. We set up a road check with cones and a rope because we had 3 trucks barrel through at full speed 2 nights back. We don't take guns to the road. We take a stack of paper that says where the clinic is and where the well is and what the hours are. If someone's hungry, we give them a hard-boiled egg and send them on. Most say thanks. One threw it back. We let him go. People show you who they are. Ken, copy. Keep your lines clear and your words shorter than your rope. Now, south. A bright voice with a Texas edge slips up through the band like a fish running the surface. This is Rhea in Wichita Falls. We still got some power on the west feeder in my block. We hung a banner that says, charge here, and a kid brought a scooter battery like it was treasure. We let him plug in first. Listen, we got weird rain yesterday. It left spots on my aunt's truck like dry milk. We washed it off. Should we worry? Rhea, I can't test your truck from here, but you did right. Wash odd dust off, keep it outside, don't bring rag water into your kitchen. If your block has power, you own the duty to share. Do it with rules and a list and a whistle. Turn off porch lights at night to not draw a crowd you can't feed. Build a schedule. Schedules are a kind of blanket. I need to read one note that I wrote and rewrote before I came on. Martial law is real in some zones. That phrase can crack your teeth on the wrong day. It does not mean the person in a uniform on your street hates you. It means someone decided order is a kind of food too. If someone with a badge and a worn face tells you the bridge is closed, don't test them. If they ask to look in your trunk, let them. Then say thank you if your voice can still bend that way. If the order makes no sense and puts your family in danger, speak up and ask for a sergeant or a lieutenant without turning your body into a fuse. Words are tools. Use them like a good knife, not like a club. An insider rumor, and then I'm going to give you a hard, simple checklist for the afternoon. Word is that a coastal city that everyone wrote off on day 1 lit up a small part of its grid last night. Not the downtown, a hospital cluster. They did it by stealing power from a dead mall and rerouting it through a set of manual ties that a retired lineman remembered how to work. If you're that lineman out there somewhere, I don't know your name, but you carried a torch that burned clean. The rumor could be wishful. But even if it is, the lesson stands. The dead things around you are not all dead. Some wires still remember the way home if a steady hand guides them. Here's your checklist for the next 6 hours. 1. Pick one room to be your warm room and close it off. 2. Take stock of water without lying to yourself. Write the number on paper. 3. Plan one meal you can share with a neighbor and one you will keep back for a worse day. That balance matters. 4. Check on the oldest person on your block and the loudest kid. One needs quiet help, the other needs a job. 5. If you have a radio that only takes hands, crank it and listen at the top of every hour for a voice you trust. If you don't hear one, write down that you didn't, then go on with your tasks anyway. Doing the next right thing is your signal now. Taking more calls, east of here. A small voice, probably on a hand mic with a frayed cord. I'm Benny in Council Bluffs, 13 years old. My mom says it's okay to talk. We found out you can run a space heater on a car if you park it outside and run a cord through the window, but it drinks gas. We don't do it at night. We only warm the room for 20 minutes and then shut it down. Is that dumb? Benny, you just taught 50 grown men to use their car without dying in it. Thank you. Keep that car outside. Keep the tailpipe clear. Never run it in a garage, not even with the door open. 20 minutes is a good window. The smart part of your plan is the clock. Stick to it. Another call folds in from far north, thin and brave. Name's Ilona, small town outside Sioux Falls. We lost a man yesterday because he went to check on his field in the wind without telling anyone. We searched the ditches with flashlights until after dark. Don't go alone. Tell someone where you're headed. Tie a bright ribbon on your coat. If you have a whistle, use it when you're tired, just to hear your own sound come back. Ilona, I am sorry for your man. Your advice just saved a body we don't know yet. Someone on the base just slid a scrap of paper under my elbow. It's a list of frequencies they want me to pass in case you can scan. Civil air band near 121.5 still has life sometimes, but please don't step on guard unless you're in the air or you can help someone who is. No AA on 162.55, and the cousin channels spit out a tone now and then, sometimes a broken text-to-voice message that sounds like a robot learning to cry. If you hear tones without words, write the time. It means a station is breathing, even if it can't talk yet. I want to read a short set of names because names hold us up like beams. These came in on paper, or by runner, or from the county nets. Ruiz at the south entrance, steady as a stone. Mr. Patel at the pharmacy door counting pills with cold fingers and a clear head. Lila with the big pot. Eli with the blue tarp and the jokes. Benny with the car and the clock. Ilona with the ribbon and the whistle. If you're holding a name in your head from your own street, say it out loud now to someone sharing your room. If you're alone, say it anyway. The air here knows how to carry a name across a mile of concrete. Now for what everyone keeps circling. Is this going to get worse? Yes, in some ways. The easy food will run out. People who took without paying will find that taking gets heavy when there's no one left to steal from. The second week of cold is meaner than the first. You will want to sleep in the afternoon. Don't. Not for long. Make a job list and check one box you hate each day. That box is your spine. Is it going to get better? Yes, in some ways. We learn fast when our fingers are on the line. The first night's fear is a bonfire. It burns out. What comes after is a steady flame you can cook on if you feed it right. Insider talk one more time, because I promised you simple words for complex rooms. A civilian scientist who eats crackers in our hallway said the early models for fallout spread were built for wars no one had the nerve to fight. The real sky doesn't care. It throws curves. He's working on a hand map that doesn't need a server farm to read. He says, look for the wind on the ground, not the cartoon arrow on the news. He also says, if you smell wet metal when the ground is dry, go back inside. He didn't say that to scare you. He said it because he's seen things we haven't, and he wants you alive. We are coming up on 5 a.m. At the hour, I will go quiet for 5 to change filters and clear the board for any emergency traffic with code words I'm not going to read to you. If you hear a long string of letters like someone holding down a piano, don't try to copy it. That traffic isn't ours. If you hear a short, sharp message that says a city name and a number and the word clear, that might be a damage report settling. It doesn't change your chores. You still need to fetch water, stack blankets, and decide what to do with the last battery in the drawer. One more call before I go dark for those 5 minutes. A man I think is sitting in a stairwell somewhere speaks with a slow cadence. This is Father Mark in Omaha, church on 24th. We will ring the bell at noon if the wind is calm. Not for a service, for people to bring names of missing on scraps of paper. We will paste them to a door. We will not read them out loud. People can touch the door if they need to. That is all. Father, that is not all. That is a rope in a river. I'm going to step off for 5. If you can hear the clock on your wall and it still ticks, wind it and set it to the time I gave at the start. If you don't have a clock, you have the sun across your window frame. Mark it. Build your day around marks and hands and tasks. This is Miles Carter, Offutt Air Force Base, low band net. Hold the line. I will be back at 5 past with more county traffic, a short update from a rail yard, and, if I can pry it loose, a note from someone who sat in bunker miles west and watched a mountain breathe. 5:05. The hum of the filters is louder now, like a heartbeat through a wall. The floor shakes every few minutes. Nothing violent, just the sound of trucks somewhere above the bunker moving what's left of the base's fuel drums. I don't ask where they're headed anymore. It's better not to count what's leaving. This is Miles Carter, still on 5.505 megahertz. If you're still hearing me, it means the diesel hasn't quit, and neither have I. I promised an update from the rail yard and something from a voice deep west. So let's start there. A runner from the surface brought me a scrap of paper an hour ago, written in pencil, torn from a logbook. It reads, Union Pacific Yard, South Omaha. 2 engines operational. 3 tankers filled. Civilian volunteers helping move grain cars for food distribution. Rail lines to Lincoln passable as of 0400. Expect sabotage near Platte Crossing. Stay armed. Stay human. That's all. No name, no rank. Just handwriting that looks like someone was shaking from cold or fear, or both. If you live within walking distance of those lines, stay off them after dark. If you see a broken rail, mark it with cloth or paint. Trains aren't running on schedule anymore. They move when there's fuel and courage. Now the other part, a voice from the mountains. A man identifying himself as Echo 5 came through on one of the encoded shortwave bands last night. He didn't say where, but he claimed to be broadcasting from Cheyenne Structure 2. That's a phrase old radio hands might recognize. He said, and I'll read this word for word, the mountain lives. Systems compromised but intact. We've got enough hands to keep the lights for a while. We're prioritizing outer relay sites. You're not alone. Then static for a full minute. I haven't heard him since. I don't know if Echo 5 was who he said he was. Could be a trick. Could be a man in a mine with a battery and a lie. But if it's true, it means someone still sees the whole board. That's worth a heartbeat of hope. Let's go to calls. A man's voice, old and tired. This is Clarence from Lincoln. We're digging a trench near the community well to bury the frozen pipes. We found 2 dogs frozen together near the fence. We said a prayer. Then we kept digging. If you got a shovel, use it while you still can. Ground's going to be iron soon. Clarence, I don't have words better than yours. You're right. Use the daylight, even if the light's weak. Work is warmth. Next call. A faint, rattling connection. Name's Joe, South Kansas. I worked dispatch before the power cut. We got word, not confirmed, that some planes made it out before the strikes. Medical flights, supply craft. They're landing on highways. If you see a flare in the night sky that hangs red and green together, that's one of them looking for open ground. Don't shoot. Don't panic. Don't crowd. They're not armed. Copy that, Joe. Red and green, hanging. That's a sign of life, not war. The line fades, and I'm left with the whine of the transmitter cooling fan. It sounds like wind through a dead street. I take a drink of cold coffee and look at the clock. It's strange what you start to notice. The world slows down to the sound of machines. You can hear when the generator breathes wrong, when the static thickens, when a voice is real versus a loop. It's like living inside a giant heart and praying it keeps beating. Theories. Everyone wants theories. What started this? Why now? What's next? I've got whispers, that's all. One man who used to work satellite comms before everything went dark told me something that makes my blood run cold. He said our early warning systems saw a dozen launches, then hundreds, but most were ghosts. Decoys, flares, scrap metal. The real warheads came later, hidden in that noise. They made the sky cry wolf, he said. So when the real wolves came, no one believed the radar. Another theory, a misfire or a test that went wrong, a training sim that crossed into live fire. But the pattern of impacts doesn't look accidental. These were deliberate. Population centers, not fields. Command, not chaos. Someone made a decision that no one alive can undo. If you're out there and you're listening, you need to know what that means. The old rules are gone. The governments that still function are shadows, operating through local bases like this one. Don't wait for a national broadcast. There isn't one anymore. There's just us. Let's take another call. Name's Henry. Springfield, Missouri. My wife and I run a feed store. We opened it up to the neighbors. The shelves are bare now, but we found the seed bags out back. We've been boiling the grain. It's awful, but it keeps us alive. We got a shortwave rig from an old storm shelter, and I wanted to say, we're okay for now. Tell people, the old stuff matters. Tools, books, rope, grain, nails. The world's going back to simple things. Henry, that's the best sermon I've heard in 13 days. The world's going back to simple things. Another call crackles through, faint, shaky. This is Kira, Oklahoma City outskirts. My sister's missing. If anyone finds a woman named Dawn wearing a red coat, please tell her her kids are safe with me. Please. Kira, if Dawn's listening, she'll know now. Hold the kids close. That's all we can do. Keep the small circles safe. Silence follows for almost a minute. The static hums like bees. I can hear the bunker's pipes knocking. Someone upstairs shouts orders, muffled by concrete. Then, another voice. Older. Rough. This is Raymond, former Air Force. Now just Raymond. I'm in Topeka. We got radio silence from our local command 2 nights ago. But yesterday, a group of kids showed up at our door. College kids. They had printed maps, hand-drawn, laminated. They're setting up a courier chain, bikes, and old mail trucks to move letters between towns. They call themselves the Line. Thought you should know? The Line. Write that down. If anyone out there meets them, give them your town, your name, and one piece of real news. Don't waste their time with rumors. Real news only. They're risking their lives for connection. The diesel coughs. I glance at the gauge. Still green. I look at the clock again. 5:29. I've been talking nearly an hour straight. I can feel it in my throat. That dry burn that tells you you're alive. People used to ask me what it's like, sitting in a bunker while the world burns. I tell them, it's quiet. Too quiet. You start to miss the sound of bad things. Traffic, planes, crowds. At least those meant the world was moving. Now it's still. Still like a photograph. But still doesn't mean dead. Somewhere out there, a generator's humming. Somewhere, a mother's lighting a candle for her kids. Somewhere, a man's burying his hands in cold dirt, planting something he hopes will grow. That's not death. That's stubborn life. We'll take one last call before the half hour. A weak, fading voice. It's Sam, from Denver. I don't have much battery left. We saw the mountains glow last night, like the snow was on fire. No sound, just light. We thought it was the end, but then it stopped. The air's clearer now. Birds came back this morning. We're scared, but we're alive. Sam, if you can hear me, keep that memory. That's proof the sky still knows mercy. This is Miles Carter, Offutt Air Force Base. 5:30. If you're still hearing me, that means the world's not done yet. Keep the frequency clear for emergency traffic. I'll be back at the top of the next hour. Hold your light. Hold your voice. Don't go quiet. 6 a.m. The cold has found its way into the vents. My breath makes small ghosts that drift toward the transmitter and fade before they touch metal. The lights overhead flicker every few minutes. Someone says it's just the generator cycle, but you can tell when people start lying to each other out of kindness. The silence afterward is always too polite. This is Miles Carter, Offutt Air Force Base, Nebraska. Day 13. At least that's how we count it here. 13 days since the world changed shape and forgot its own rhythm. I've been told to keep talking as long as my voice carries, even if it's just one person still listening out there in the dark. If that's you, don't answer yet. Just listen. The surface teams reported frost over the crater rim east of the city. What used to be farmland looks like a moon plain now. Ash, glass, then nothing. The snow covers it up, softens the edges, makes it almost peaceful if you don't know what's underneath. We found what used to be a weather balloon station 10 miles north, buried under 2 feet of dust. The antenna mast is bent, but the solar array still pulls a charge when the sun hits. They're rewiring it to power a small beacon. When it's ready, it'll pulse a repeating signal. 3 seconds on, 2 off, 5 on, 2 off. If you're out there with a receiver and you hear that rhythm, it means we're still here. Someone asked me yesterday why I keep saying we. There aren't many of us left down here. Maybe 30, maybe less. A few techs, a medic, 2 guards, and 1 captain who still believes in the chain of command even when there's no chain left. But we sounds better than I. Feels more human. The air above us isn't safe. The readings spike every few hours, depending on the wind. But we're learning how to live in the gaps. How to breathe when the sky lets us. Before the last blackout, I caught a faint feed from somewhere near St. Louis. Could have been KMOX, or an old repeater bouncing off the clouds. A man's voice, broken but calm, was reading the Book of Psalms over static. He didn't explain why. Maybe he just wanted to fill the silence with something older than bombs. When the transmission cut, the static didn't feel empty. It felt full, like the words kept echoing even after he was gone. Let's take a few calls. The line's open. A man comes through, clear but breathless. This is Dan, north of Kansas City. We built a shelter under the hardware store when things got bad. 15 of us down here. We take turns on the radio. We heard your last broadcast, the part about the green pins. We started marking safe houses on a paper map too. Red for gone, green for good, yellow for maybe. The yellows are the hardest. You never know when to move them. Dan, you're doing what Command used to do with satellites. Only now it's on paper, and maybe that's better. The sky can lie, ink doesn't. Keep updating those pins. If your green dots outnumber your red, you're winning, even if it doesn't feel like it. A woman joins in right after. Soft voice, southern accent. Miles, this is June from Shreveport. I just want to say, we're cooking in shifts. One stove, one pot. We share the heat. It's strange. People who never talked to each other before now share blankets. Maybe that's the only good thing this whole nightmare's done. June, that might be the most important line anyone said on this frequency. When everything breaks, what's left is what we share. Keep doing what you're doing. Another signal rises through the static. Weak, childlike. This is Mia, from Springfield. My dad's fixing cars that don't start anymore. He says we can make one run on propane if we find the right hose. I drew a sign that says "Alive" here. I put it on the window so people know. Mia, you just made your house a lighthouse. Thank you. If you're listening and you're near Springfield, watch for that sign. It means hope lives there. Now the hard part. I've been told to read something. It's not from me. It's from a message that came through at 5:47 from what's left of NORAD. I don't know who wrote it, but it had authentication keys we still recognize. To all remaining civilian operators and regional survivors networks, maintain low power transmission to preserve diesel supply. Avoid concentrated gatherings near coastlines and major rail corridors. Additional atmospheric disturbance expected in the next 12 hours due to stratospheric injection. Seek shelter during daylight hours. Communications blackout may occur between 700 and 1100 Central due to solar interference. End message. Solar interference. That's the polite term for another flare. Or maybe something worse. If you're hearing this, prepare to go silent for part of the day. Conserve your batteries. Turn off devices when you're not using them. Write down frequencies. Paper remembers what power forgets. We'll take another round of survivor calls before the blackout hits. This is Everett, near Omaha suburbs, a man says. We're seeing animals again. Coyotes on the roads, deer in the parking lots. They move like the world's theirs now. It's eerie, but also peaceful. Everett, I know what you mean. Nature doesn't mourn the way we do. It just keeps filling in the gaps. Maybe that's a kind of mercy. Next call. I'm Lena from Cedar Rapids. We found a working water pump behind the old school. The handle's rusted, but it still gives. We're sharing buckets, one per family, 2 gallons each. I never thought the sound of water could make people cry, but it did. Lena, that sound is worth more than gold now. Guard that pump. Another signal. Name's Jacob. Chicago outskirts. We've been hearing rumors that Washington's gone. Is that true? Jacob, I don't have a clean answer. The last verified broadcast from DC was 10 days ago. Since then, only silence. Could mean they're underground. Could mean worse. But remember, silence doesn't always mean death. Sometimes it just means someone's working quietly to survive. The clock on the console ticks closer to 6:30. My throat feels like I swallowed sandpaper, but stopping isn't an option. The generator hiccups again. The captain knocks once on the steel door, the signal that means keep going. I take a breath. A few of the younger techs are starting to break under the weight of it all. They're barely 20. They sit at their consoles, staring at static maps, pretending the shapes mean something. One of them, Private Keen, asked me last night why I keep talking to a world that might not be listening. I told him, because silence is how things die. As long as one voice speaks, the world's not done yet. And maybe I'm just fooling myself, but that's enough to keep me here. If you're still tuned in, write down these numbers: 41.127, negative 96.112. That's the coordinate range for this transmitter. If anyone from FEMA, Red Cross, or Allied Forces picks this up, that's where the last working low-band relay sits. Bring fuel. Bring filters. Bring patience. It's strange to think how small our lives have become. A month ago, people were fighting online about politics, TV shows, nonsense. Now the only arguments left are about how to share a can of beans or how to make a fire without choking on the smoke. We used to think we were advanced. Turns out we were just comfortable. The ceiling groans above me. Dust drifts down. Somewhere in the ducts, a fan coughs. I turn the gain down on the mic and whisper, because sometimes even whispering feels like a rebellion. If you're out there, whoever you are, don't let your heart go quiet. Keep your hands busy. Build something, even if it's just a list. Write down what you remember. Someday, someone will need to know how we got here. I'll stay on this frequency until the blackout starts. Then we'll power down and pray the next sunrise still comes. This is Miles Carter, Offutt Air Force Base. Day 13. Temperature outside, -4 Celsius. Wind north-northeast. Light. Radiation low at dawn, climbing at noon. Hold the line. Keep breathing. Keep believing in small things. I'll be back after the blackout.